Okay, folks, good afternoon, good evening, whatever the hell it is. Good evening. Let's get our fan going over here. Get some air circulation. I don't know, it seems like the screen is a little dull, is it? Nah, just the direction it's at. Hey, what's up, Marcus? Oh man, I didn't think you were going to be on. I had something for you, and I don't remember what it was. Shit. What was it? What was it? I don't remember. It was something. I was gonna ask you about something. I was gonna ask you a question. I don't remember what it was. I don't remember what it was. I think you got about 45 minutes of hobby time. Didn't think I'd catch you. Well, all right, let's make it worth your while. Let's get crazy. Man, I had something for you. I don't know what it was. Oh well. Must not be that important. Yeah, I literally don't know what it was. All right, we were working on little bolts for Hermione this morning. All things that stand out. One thing that surprises me, it's so hard to figure out on tanks, is antennas. Like you go and like, okay, this has got an antenna somewhere. Let me look at some pictures. And they'll be between pictures of actual vehicles and model vehicles. They'll be like, oh, a picture with no antenna, another one with no antenna, another one with one in one location, another one with a different location. All the same mark, vehicles, everything, all the same OUSFs. So I'm doing a little experiment. I am using a mobile connection, but I'm going to do a horizontal. Let's see if that affects how many people come on here. Because I feel like this, you're going to see more of the area than just going vertical. I think I was just about done with it. Uh-oh. Need that? Okay. Man, what was it? So I looked at the video that I took. One of the videos that I took, basically, of the close-up on my Africa Core tanks, because it takes a while to kind of process that when you're using a mobile connection, and the color on it doesn't look right in the video. It's not. It's like I said. It's just things don't look the same in person. And I'm painting it to how it looks like in person, and yeah, it looks better in person. Let's get rid of this guy before something bad happens to him. Yeah, it looked all right, but it looks better in person. A lot of the subtleties get lost still. I'm having a hell of a time trying to figure out if those Czech 38s I have, what else they are. And you see pictures of these Valentines, and in retrospect, they're all of these little plates are all disheveled looking. So really, you should have just cut them here, and then like maybe use pliers to kind of bend them back or forward. I don't know. Maybe it's just a detail too much, but. Facebook message. Okay, well, let's take a look. What could be on there? Let's see. I never signed into my computer. Time to upgrade before the end of support. Nope. I'm keeping Windows 10. Nope. Decline upgrade. Leave me alone. Last time I did an upgrade on something, I got bent over backwards. I'm not having that do it again. I'll have something different happen. Let's see. Oh. Man, it's small. I hope I can blow this up bigger. Oh yeah, I was going to ask you how that SDK of Z11 went. Oh, you got one of the ammo things with a little carrier on it. Cool. I don't recognize the figures. I don't recognize the figures. Yeah, the SDK of Z11, right? That's the vehicle that the 251 is based on, I think. And the SDK of Z10 is the vehicle that the 250s are based on. I think that's how it is. What's your thoughts of Panzer Grey versus Dunkelgelb? Do you have a preference? Mix of combat miniatures, Airfix 1Cs. Are they Germans? I couldn't tell what they were. And then I went to the little boy's room, and you left this morning, and I mentioned something, and then I realized, oh shit, I didn't put my microphone back on, so it got lost. But what I was saying this morning was that I don't know what I'm going to do with my Martyr 3, because I have a Martyr 3 from Eschi, and I also have three of them from Plastic Soldier Company that are already done, and I don't know what I could do with the Martyr 3 that would be different. Then just build it as the, I guess it would be the H. It's a 3H. And the Elephant that I have too from Eschi. But one of the models I was never able to complete was that 3/4 ton weapons carrier by Eschi. For the Americans, like the one they used to they modified it. You can haul Patton around, or pull a 37mm gun as well, that kind of stuff. But quite a you-know-what to assemble. That's right. Prefer the look of Panzer Grey, but the Dunkelgelb looks better when you weather it. At least I think so. Yeah, I think as a general rule, it catches people's attention more. I like the Panzer Grey better. I mean, obviously, depending, some vehicles can go both ways, but you are misbehaving, my friend. We've had just about enough of you. So we're going to go to a different one. Not the holier than thou one. That one's too valuable. Well, maybe I will have to use this one. Yeah, it's different preferences. I used to argue with this guy all the time that I knew a long time ago. He was like, he preferred Dunkelgelb to gray, and he liked the short boots better than the tall boots. I like the Han Solo height jack boots better on the German stuff. I like the early Germans. I just don't want them too early with the Baker hats. You know, time to make the donuts. You know. The evil bakers. So it looks like the horizontal definitely affects the people coming in. Well, you either have really good taste or you're really wanting me to like you. Hey, maybe it's both. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm going to resist getting any of those Panther Ds. That's really not where I need to be messing with that right now. If I wanted to do, honestly, I'd be more tempted to get French tanks. Not that I'm tempted to do that, but well, you do like Schwimmwagens. Yeah, well, for what it's worth, they're probably the best looking amphibious vehicle, which isn't saying anything. But um, I don't know when they started getting made. Late 43, or I mean, I'm sorry, early 43. Something like that. Of course, they're known for that Battle of the Bulge picture with the two SS guys looking at a map at their famous picture. I can't remember if that's supposed to be Piper or not. I always get Piper and Whitman mixed up. Like somebody mentions one of their names and I'm thinking of the other one, but didn't Piper have the Hitler Jugend under him in Normandy? No. No, I don't think so. Oh man. I think Piper was always with the first SS. I think he was. Hitler Jugend. No, Hitler Jugend. The guy that had the Hitler Jugend was, he's a pretty well known guy. The guy who had the Panzer Grenadiers was a guy that's pretty well known. The guy that had the Panzer Regiment commander was that guy. They even make a freaking 1/6 scale figure of him. I think Max Wunsch. Who's the guy that had the? He's a well known guy. You'll know his name immediately when I know. I mean, what's his name? And if I was gonna paint SS guys, that's the unit I would paint, so they could get into it with the Canadians. HJ Commanders Normandy. What's his name? What's his name? I'll find it here in a second here. You'll know who he is. Meyer. Meyer's the guy. Kurt Meyer. Yeah, Kurt Meyer was the, at least in Normandy, he was the Panzer Grenadier guy. And Max Wunsch was the Panzer Regiment guy. Yeah, Piper I think was always with the first SS. Which incidentally, so was Whitman. Or at least that's where he ended. No, that's right. He was with that heavy SS thing at the end. Yeah, I think Whitman was always with the at least during the war. Piper became a platoon leader in a unit of the 1st SS Motorized Regiment in France for audacious soldiering in his platoon's capture of a French artillery battery atop the hills of Wattenberg, south of Valenciennes. Piper was awarded an Iron Cross second in class. I hate the SS ranks. Hauptsturmführer, you know, everybody's a fucking Führer. Yeah, there's periods of different folks, not of different folks, but of different actions that I've never really researched a lot that I kind of want to for the purpose of doing scenarios. And one of them is the Cherkasy pocket. I never really did any kind of, stuff that I'm, of course I've thought about it because of those Panthers, But I got more combat miniatures of the British, so I got I got half of mine to paint in as Canadians. And like I said, I kind of got bummed out when I found out that the tanks that I painted here for that British regiment was based on the information that was in the face of battle scenario book in that one scenario, and then come to find out that, oh, it looks like the information they gave me was inaccurate. So that unit used M4A2s, also known as Sherman 3s, as opposed to Sherman 5s, M4A4s. I'm like, son of a bitch, you know? Those are excellent figures. Really like the Combat Mini Brits. Yeah, I already have these figures, but I hope the alloy's not too soft now that I think about it, because when the alloy's too soft, bayonets bend, etc., you know? And then you got, man, it's a little too windblown here. I mean, this thing's about done. And we do need to drill out the antenna, which I'm going to put in that one spot there. So I should have this thing primed and ready to go. I'm not going to make the mistake that I did other times and push down on this. Well, hold on a second. It's not going anywhere. All right. Man, it's just not going. It's just not digging. I wonder if this one's just dull or something. I have several of them that are almost the same size. They just pull out one of the other ones because this plastic's pretty easy to drill in through. It shouldn't be giving me this much issue. Let's see. No, that one's actually a little smaller. Let's try this. I'm too hot. Son of a bitch. Now, well, when I was doing, when I was first doing this, my original buddy that was doing this with me, he didn't like combat miniatures. At that point, we weren't both doing everything. He was doing like the Russians, so he had all the Russian figures, including the cavalry, and he said he didn't like them. And I'm like, are you blind? So it got me to do the figures, and he liked the FAA ones. God, I hate FAA figures. Figures of armor and artillery. Yeah, well, they look like shit. Wow, you just don't want to. You don't want to drill in here. You're extremely resistant to drillification. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Now, it's relatively short. Man, I can't read this. I can't read my screen. I can't see the illuminated buttons. It's because this overhead light's too bright. Valentine to antenna. That didn't work. Let's just do Valentine tank. Images. That's a little more than, and again, on here. So something like, let's get this. Let's see if we can poke our eye out. Where did it go? I was just holding on to it. Man, where'd the small piece go that I just cut? This vision thing's really fucking annoying. There's one. Where's the other one just like it? I just cut it. Oh, there it is. All right, let's go to, man, I'm not going crazy. What's the worst model kit you built, Marcus? What's the worst model you're like, I'm not building one of these things ever again. It's going in the trash. Somebody gives this to me, I'd be like, no thanks. I'm going to try to get by with standard super glue. I wouldn't build another one of those Hetzers from Italy, the old SU one. I wouldn't build another one. That's not the worst model. At least the glue worked on it. Cramped ass turret. Some of the Soviet cavalry next up on my helm. Probably the Fujimi Valentine tank track issue. Could probably do a better job now. I think the biggest trouble for me is photo etch. Need better tools to cut and bend. Well, I'm sorry I can't help you with that because that's kind of a problem too. I've got. Have I shown you? I know I've talked about it. Have I shown you the model of that T26 that I have from Skiff? I gotta wait for this to dry a little bit. I'm gonna go grab it. I know exactly where it is. I ended up getting these for a steal, and then I realized why they were a steal. Because nobody wanted to deal with these things. These. It's Skiff, even though it said Skio. Casio. That's Skiff, apparently. So these came. These came when I bought them on eBay. Some without boxes. And I'm gonna put these together, but I'm telling you, this is probably the hardest thing, probably the hardest kit I have to put together. And I'll tell you what the problem is with photo etch here. So you see I've put some photo etch things on there. They give you a, let's see, where's the screen on this thing? And I don't know if this is bright enough because it's not bright for me. But you can see the idler, the drive wheel. Okay, it's got a plastic part on it, and then the inside is made out of photo etch, and the other side, this is what it's complete. So you have to glue this on the outside just like that, the outside spoke. So you're trying to like glue this with 4 little dots, and they've got like little holes they supposedly pop through and line up. None of that works properly. And so once you get through this, you're okay. But look at all the pieces of the suspension. You know, it's a pain in the ass. It's not a pain in the ass cutting all these things out, but when you start making all these little sub-assemblies of these of this, the weld cement these are so thin that the weld cement actually starts melting these. So you got to be really, really careful putting it together. All right, so you get through all that, right? And I've got one that's a little bit more advanced than this one. So they make you put great googly man. They make you put the fenders on that are like this, which isn't a problem because, to be honest with you, the photo etch is actually pretty durable. Um, and if it bends out of place, you can bend it back without snapping, like resin or plastic or things like that. That isn't the problem. The problem is going to be is how do you glue this on this tiny little surface area that's that thick onto here? And it's just a pain in the butt. So let's say you get that done, all right? So you're good because I have another one that's farther along than that one. This is the part that takes the cake, and this is the biggest problem with a kit. Let's see if I can show you on the instructions. Yeah, here it is. So you've got these photo etch fenders, right here. The fenders aren't the problem. The problem is they want you. And the fender is not the problem because you can take this, see this little piece, this piece goes down, so you just bend it at 90 degrees. Pretty straightforward, and you got to cut these things out, and it can all be done. Here's the problem. You come in and you have these fenders that are like this, and they want you to put these things on here. Well, what the heck is that like little tube? Oh, it's a straight piece of photo etch that you somehow have to bend it into a 180, not a circle, but you need to make it like something that's shaped like this. Well, how the hell are you going to do that? How the hell are you going to get that shape on a piece that looks like this 41 here? This one right here, this piece, see if you can see. This piece right here, you somehow have to bend that. How the hell are you going to do that? I don't want to buy special photo etch bending things for these kits that were like $5 each. No wonder they were $5 each. That's the biggest problem because photo etch is durable. It's a lot more durable than, crap, that snapped in half. None of this stuff is going to snap in half. I mean, it's durable as crap. You got to glue it on the edge, right? But how am I going to do that? How am I going to bend that into a tube? That's why they didn't get finished. None of this rest of this is a problem. A little photo etch piece like that for the exhaust. That isn't a problem. But those tubes, you gotta be kidding me. And I don't know that these tracks are worth a damn, but you can staple them and then a staple will hold anything down. But maybe I need to make wrecks out of them, right? Here's the annoying thing. So I would call this a precise model, right? It has all of these little details on it and everything. Photo etch, fenders, and these wheels and all that stuff. All right, we're cool. It's a precise model. Why in the hell don't they make it where you can even open a hatch? Like the hatches are all solid, but you can do all this fender crap. Like, really? Like, this is what's important, I'll take a one-piece suspension. I don't give a shit, It's just really weird. And I don't know where these are from. I don't know whether this is Ukrainian or Russian, but, Ukrainians, Russians, same thing as far as I'm concerned. They're fighting a war over there, but this is Ukraine. Yeah. They're fighting a war over there, but it's the same. Eastern European instructions are just terrible. And I'm an experienced modeler. Like, somebody who's new to this, they'd be like, I'm selling this shit on eBay, and that's what happened. So I actually have 2 standard T26s and 2 flamethrower T26s. These are the fast looking turret. I have 2 of these and 2 of these, but they have the same problem. They all have the same problem on that. Reminds me of the ladder on the unarmored train for UM models. Almost all of them broke. Had to glue the little broken bits together. It doesn't look great if you look close, and I do. Yeah, yeah. They make things more difficult. Now, I have one UM model, and the decals on it are superb. Like they're really good quality decals. Like I was impressed. They like disappear, but I don't worry about decals a whole lot anymore. It's like, oh, you got decals for me? I'm not worried about that. I'll just hand paint them. That's easy. Turning this photo etch thing into a long ass tube, that's not easy. That's not easy. Oh, and by the way, you have to cut that off the sprue before you bend it. And that's just, well, now you know why they're not finished. So, but I'm going to do something with them. But the hatches are closed. Like, why would you make the hatches closed? Silly comrade. And I do like the way this T26 looks. I don't dislike the T26 at all, and I really like it with the fast turret, the last version of the turret. I think it looks great. Cute little bastard. But a bastard it is. Yeah, it's like, why do in a past life they deserve this? Speaking of which, let me open up this SU-85 and see if it has hatches you can have open. I hope so. This is a huge box. It would be nice if I can find the top of this thing. Oh, it's got an extra Pepe Shaw. I don't know what I would do with that. And a PBS 43 with the bent banana clip. Where is the top of this thing? Okay, yeah. Yep, here's the top portion. You can make one of the hatches open. Good. One of them will have an open hatch. One of them will have an open hatch. We're going to put this together in about a month and a half or so. Maybe a month for the Russia theme. There's a Russia theme. And I don't know if I'm going to do it in winter or not. And see, it does have photo etch. The little tow hooks and the bandsaw. Okay, we can deal with that. Of course, the decals are garbage. Decals are useless because they either give you captured German vehicles, or they give you captured German decals, or Polish liberation ones. I don't do Poles and that are about to be tricked. I don't play that game. All right, I'm gonna grab a Coke. I'll be right back. So that's just extreme. That's just extreme doing shit like that. The other thing is extreme is the thing that used to be an extreme thing growing up was vacuum form kits. Now I never built any, but I've seen them, and I'm like, that's as bad as making those balsa. I guess we're gonna pronounce everything wrong today. the balsa wood kits with the dope and the skin for like the aircraft. You know. All right, a little bit of black. Paint the antennas. Antenna. And these guys should be good to go. And then we'll move on to the next project. But I'm having a hell of a time trying to figure out if these Czech 38s are B's, C's, D's, or E's or F's. I just can't figure it out. There's not a lot of really good documentation on fuck me. That was a major mistake. Put it in the super glue. Oh well, it's not like I don't have enough brushes. All right, we're not gonna do that again. It's just habit of let me wet the brush. You don't wet it with that. All right. Not a major mistake. I don't have to redo the entire tank. Horace and Hermione. All right. Let's put this back. You take up way too much real estate. Okay, so these guys are good to go. Well, I found Chad. I did, and then first I was like, I could just use Plastic Soldier Company to use, things that they make. Chad's cheaper, and some Plastic Soldier Company stuff is wrong. Those Humbers, the stuff doesn't fit on them. They're weird. They're durable as hell. They're durable. They're durable as hell. All right. Crusader 1. The Crusader 1. We're at the black line phase for it. So that's what we're going to do. Now, are you going to behave now? Or we're going to have to replace you completely? You know how I found Chad? I found Chad on Ron's website. Because I'm like looking at Ron's tanks. I'm like, man, I got to get somebody to make one of those. And he's like, and it said on there who like participates with him. And it always been, somebody in the UK, and like, that's just cost prohibitive. Like I said, I don't want to have to order $200 worth of stuff. If I got to order $200 worth at a time, then. Oh, by the way, speaking of $200 worth, that stuff you were looking at Simon Soldiers. What specifically was it that you were interested in Simon Soldiers? It caught your eye. I was looking at the French and the Japanese and the late war Americans. Panzerlehr, then some odds and ends are unique. You know, I don't think I'd ever get the Panzerlehr guys. Because, first of all, I don't like their uniforms. I think it looks. I don't like the double-breasted uniforms. And if I do them, like for instance, let's say I have some Panzerlehr infantry guys. All right, there's some infantry that was in the Panzerlehr that I'm sure didn't wear that Panzerlehr uniform. But there was nobody who wasn't in the Panzerlehr that wore that uniform. So if I get the guys in that uniform, I can only use them for Panzerlehr. And I am a Panzerlehr fan, meaning I like doing many of the actions that the Panzerlehr was in. But you know, of course, we're talking about the uniform that's basically like a tanker's uniform, but it's in field gray, top and bottom. It's got the double-breasted things, and like I don't know if all their infantry or maybe their motorized infantry or something use them. Although I haven't really noticed it in pictures, but I haven't really looked closely either. I'm sure they didn't just dream that up. But Panzerlehr and what else? Then some odds and ends that were unique. Okay. I don't need any more Germans. I don't need any more Germans. We got enough Germans already. Oh, let's see what you got. I'm never going to call it meta. Ever. Oh, well, I got to compare that to something else. I can't really tell whether his Italians are worth a damn. Now, controversial opinion coming. I think Battlefield had multiple sculptors. So I found out about them from when I went to that store in Tampa, and it was called Drew's, and the figures that they had were called Drew's Militia. They were branded as Drew's Militia, and they didn't have a lot of different stuff. They had Battle of Berlin Russians, of which I painted none of, and they're a bit crude, but they have their style that I like. But a lot of that sculptor, and I thought it was all the same sculptor. I thought it was Andrew Stevens, whatever his name is. But I think there's a couple of different sculptors, and whoever sculpted the Stalingrad Germans and Russians for Stalingrad, those are some of the best figures. And I'm not sure it was Drew. I think it was the other sculptor. I don't know who it is. But anyhow, I like them. You know, some of the figures can be a little quirky. And some figures are better than others. Some poses are better than others. But I can't really make out what the Italians are. Like, I don't think they have shorts. They all have helmets. So I don't think if it's Italians it'd be like Italians like in Italy. Or like, you know, maybe Tunisia, but You know, because the Italians you gave me, that's basically all the Italian figures they have. You know, those all the ones you gave me, that's one each of everything they make. So if you need a platoon of Italians, you're gonna have repeat guys. You know, might make an order late April. I'll let you know. Okay. Well, I'm not in any hurry at all. I'm not in any hurry at all. Have you looked at their Japanese? Their Japanese look really good. I have so much stuff to paint. No kidding. No kidding. Yeah, the Japanese guys look really good. Like Japanese, I have so many Japanese figures, including the combat miniatures. Yeah, the combat miniatures. I have to replace a lot of mine. The alloy's too soft. The combat miniatures Japanese guys are freaking amazing. They are full of character, and some of them are nearsighted as shit. I guess it could be farsighted. You fuck up now. Mm-hmm. Especially the guys with bayonets and swords. There's some badass looking Japanese guys. Badass looking Japanese guys out of comp. I'm telling you, that sculptor is just amazing. He's Ron good. And I think when I found out about him, he was already passed away. Because I always heard that he died in a car accident. But then I think that I actually heard that he was he it was a car accident, but I think what it was, and I could be wrong, was that he was working on a car and it rolled on him. And that was the accident. It wasn't like, he's driving around and bam. I think it was stationary and it rolled on him. I read that somewhere because I wouldn't have made that up because that's, a very unique situation. But he's the whole reason I started doing 20 mil. Because those combat miniatures is incredible. I mean, some people may not like them. They almost every one of their figures is like, oh, I can't wait to paint him. You know, almost every one of them. I'm not super keen that a lot of his Germans figures have helmet covers on them, but I'll tell you what, I kicked the shit out of the last Zeltbahn helmet cover I did with the crew on the Pack 40. So that's not much of a problem, but that's what got me. And I went to the store. I saw those sculptings. I'm like, holy crap, these look great. The Brits and Japanese, two favorite. I like them all, man. The Russians are a little lackluster just because they don't have a lot of poses, but they still look good. They look like Russians. They definitely eat better than the Eshi guys. The Eshi Russians are a bit frail. And the Airfix Russians are kind of like, yeah, this guy's kind of doing something. Well, what is it? Nah, don't look too close. He's in a pose. What's the pose? Nah, it's ish. What are you trying to say? I'm trying to say that they're vague as hell. They're vague as hell. The Russian Airfix guys are super vague. But their fixed figures that are really good are the Africa Core and the Desert Rats. All the other figures suck compared to the Africa Core and the Desert Rats. Hey, what's up? Oh man, here we go. How about Foreign Legion? French Foreign Legion? They were what? They were at Gazala, right? They were down there at that box in Gazala. I was like, okay, here we go again. Per Zeg Perzegriv. How's that? Perzegriv. Persegriv Entertainment. How'd I do? Better than most Americans. Okay, that's not good enough. How'd I do? You do any World War II Polish stuff? I mean, that's pretty crazy to think that First to Fight makes stuff for 39 Poles. I mean, that's pretty limited. And they make a lot. I mean, they make a lot of stuff for the Poles. They make probably, I don't know, 25 different things for them between all the tankettes, trucks, artillery pieces. Quite good. Well, I want to say it correctly, so that's part of the Persegrieve. Yeah, I figured you pronounced the W like a V. So you just assume our pronunciation? Yes, I did. So yeah, we're just talking about the Poles. I won't build any Soviet tanks that are Polish Liberation Army. I won't do it. I'm fine doing 39 Poles. I'm fine doing the Freedom Fighters. I'm sure somebody makes the Freedom Fighters. Um, and and I wouldn't do the 44 Poles because they're just wearing British kit. I just don't think that's fair. I think they deserve something with a little bit more panache, so to speak. Um, but yeah, I would do 30. I would do 39 Poles. I mean, shit. If I'm going to do French, I mean, hell, the Poles fought longer than the French did. Oh, sorry. I mean, if you consider that when they invaded into Belgium and stuff, I think the Poles lasted longer. Oh, I don't collect. Besides, I have Warsaw Uprising set to paint. That's what it is. That's what I meant. Let's say the Freedom Fighters. The what are they called? Yeah, I guess it would be Warsaw Uprising. You see that movie? I never finished that movie. It's called Warsaw 44. It was complete garbage, though. I never finished it. I got all the way to that part where the remote control tank detonates. I knew what it was when I saw it. It was like, okay, that was a bit too. That was a bit too much over the top with all the red rain. Like, no. You saw snippets. The Home Army. That's what it is. Yeah, I would totally do them. Yeah, they feature in that Generation War thing as well. That miniseries. The main Jewish character escapes, and I think they're on the way to a death camp, is what it is. Him and the Polish girl escape, and they run into Home Army guys, and they don't get treated very well. But Um, he also wasn't Polish. He was a German, so they didn't like the fact that he was a German. The one film with dubstep electronic music in the background. Now that you mention it, it does have out of, I think it does have out of period, and that I'm not a fan of when they do stuff like that. That it have dubstep. I don't know. I'd have to look at it again. Yeah, I'll have to watch it again. Although the main character ends up hooking up with an uglier girl. I'm like, no, no, the brown hair girl's cuter. Hook up with her, not the blonde girl. I never finished watching it. The the Hetzer model that I have actually has decals for a home army for an uprising Hetzer. Yeah, I'm not doing any Poles duped into fight by the Soviets. I'm not doing that. That's not cool. Even though they do have a cool white eagle. I mean, I'm all for eagle things, but film doesn't get good reviews. I heard it's crap. Seems like soft propaganda comparable with new Russian and Chinese war films. Well, I started watching that 800, which is a Chinese film, and I couldn't watch it more than the dubbing was terrible. I was like, "Hey Tony, let's go grab some chop suey." I mean, it was just like really like badly dubbed. Badly dubbed. I don't like the Russian propaganda films. They're just. I still need to see that one film that they showed at Historicon. At Historicon, which is the biggest historical miniature wargaming convention here in the United States, there's this one vendor that always is selling movies. Bell and Blade. Bell and Blade. They sell T-shirts and um, T-shirts and movies. If you want your copy of it, and he always has like a dozen TVs, and they just show the snippets of action. So there's like, for instance, there's like there'll be like Waterloo, or there'll be that scene in that Russian movie. I think that's called 1612 or something like that, where the Poles are like charging in, and the cannon fires at them, or the real pinnacle of like action. The part of the Yamato movie where they're shooting down the aircraft. Um, what else are they all? Just stuff like that. They don't they play things that aren't used to you're not used to seeing. They're just the action portions, and then some like repeat. And one of the movies that they're always showing is this miniseries that came out in either the late '60s or early '70s. I don't remember what it's called. It's not the one that's available on Amazon, which is uh, something like the way we fought or something like that. It's not that one. It's a different one. I don't know how propagandy it is, but it was definitely made in the time period of Brezhnev was at the helm, regardless of which one it was. But it has these scenes that are really unique that I've never seen that almost seem like really out of place. Um, and I don't know whether it follows like a group of guys or something like that, but whatever. There's this one scene where they're at Kursk, or what looks to be at Kursk, and there's a T-34 and a Tiger that knock each other out. And then the crews bail out, and they meet in the center and start like hand to hand fighting. Not even shooting each other with pistols, but like like a bar fight. And I'm like, that's that seems very odd to do that. I don't know what it's called, but it's been around for a while. But the one thing that there's this one scene that really caught my attention, and I think it's of the same series, And there's this. I'm going to say it's Berlin. It may not be Berlin, but it was a German city that has subways. So I suspect that, and it's with the Russians, it's got to be Berlin. And Hamburg might have had subways or whatever, but the Soviets didn't get there. And there's a machine gun nest that's in the subway car that anybody that tries to take it out, they just get mowed down. And they take a crash boom. And, it's underground. It's underground like a subway car, like the end of the subway car. They got an MG-42, and it's just mowing everybody down. And they take a crash boom, a 76 millimeter Soviet field piece, down the steps and point it at it, hide behind the gun shield and fire at it and take it out. I mean, that was pretty a unique way of dealing with something like that. But I don't know what it's called, but there is one series that's on Amazon. There's one Soviet series that's on Amazon, but I don't think it's that one. The one thing I will say about the Soviets, the Russians, we'll call them the Russians because the pictures that depict this would have been after the fall of the Soviet Union that I saw, is they more than anybody else that I've ever seen really give a shit about using either the correct equipment or try to really go out of the way to make a fake German tank look like a real German tank more than anybody else I've seen. That Pamfilov's 28 is a shit movie, okay? And but the action scenes in the snow, I swear that's a real Panzer IV. If it isn't, it's a great mock-up of like a Panzer IV-D. I was really impressed, and like that's important to me because that's what I see those movies for. Like, I want to see these things in action. If you want a good movie about uprising, go with Eroica. Hope I don't misspell that as erotica, and then I get a different kind of movie. It'd be a different uprising. Oh man, kill me. Eroica, yeah, as in heroica. Eroica. If it's on Amazon, I'll watch it soon. Okay, well, there's one with that name that's about Beethoven. I don't give a shit about that. Eroica, Polish movie. Okay, here it is. 58. Martin Scorsese presents masterpieces of Polish cinema. Tell me it's not black and white. It's interesting. It's a 1958 film, but it premiered on Polish television in 1972. So what happened there? It took 14 years to edit the movie. Rick caught that. He's paying attention. Well, it's true. I got it. I got an uprising, all right. I think it's a resources issue. You can't get a workable German tank very often, even the Tiger on Saving Private Ryan was a T-34 chassis. Correct. It is a resources issue. And some people just don't give a shit. Some people don't give a shit. Got to start Chef Dewey. Yeah, when I watched that movie and I'm here in my pantry. I'm like, that was funny as shit. I got such a laugh out of that, man. You should like, you should be like in PR, man. You were like making up all kinds of different ways of saying real mundane things. It's pretty funny. Yeah, but cheddar and sour cream and cheddar, that's one of my go-to flavors. This is something I'm glad you're on here because this is something you need to know. One of the best flavors out there of potato chips. I'm sorry, crisps. No, wait, the British guy. Oh, crisps. Uh, the British people are asleep right now. They're well, hopefully, uh, and one of the best flavors out there that's like a sure thing is for me is mesquite. Everything mesquite is freaking awesome. It always is, always has been, except Bucky's. Bucky's makes their own chips, and we stopped on the way to Historic on it. Mitch was like, "Oh, Bucky's," and I'm like, "Okay." Bucky's reminds me of what Walmart used to be like when the old man was still alive, right? A lot of people, pretty good prices, and it wasn't like trashed. That's what Walmart used to look like before when Sam Walton was alive. At least I remember it. That's what it used to look like. But they make their own stuff and they make their own chips and they have a mesquite flavor and it's trash. It is terrible. It's absolutely terrible. I don't know how the rest of their chips are. They might all be okay or they might all suck. But mesquite stuff is like, you want something that's good, mesquite, give me mesquite. Bucky's mesquite chips aren't good. No, you should do a review next time you see one. I don't have Bucky's near me. It was just like traveling, but actually, the best thing about Bucky's is, and people disagree with me, is their like home goods section, like this, like the stuff that you would like go to like uh, Bed Bath and Beyond when they were around, or TJ Maxx, the stuff that they have like for your home and stuff like that. Because whatever, if your Bucky's is like in South Carolina, there's a bunch of South Carolina shit there, right? If you're in Florida, you got a bunch of Florida stuff. Just like cool things. I think I really like that area. But the food, after you've eaten a couple of those barbecue sandwiches, like, we've all had good barbecue, and that's not it. But the mesquite chips suck. Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe how bad they were. How do you screw up mesquite? I don't know. That's Bucky. But mesquite's a good flavor. Another flavor that's really good, because you said cheddar and sour cream, and we're going to talk about chips. Hey, I know a lot about food. I didn't build this body not eating. Jalapeno rush. The Ruffles sour cream and cheddar are really good, as you probably know, if you like that flavor. That's one of the really good ones. Um, they make same style. They make jalapeno ranch or something like that. Those are spectacular. Those are really really good. And they're not. I don't know how you are on the spice. Well, you eat Mexican food all the time, so I'm sure you can handle some zest. If you can't handle spice, you can handle the zest. And yeah, those are really good. Those are really, really good. Um, what else? Yeah, they screwed those up. And in Canada, they've got those all dressed chips that are kind of like a loaded baked potato tasting things. And those are pretty good too. But yeah, Bucky's, don't have the Bucky's mesquite. because all the other mesquite stuff is spectacular. Or at least I think it is. You know, it has a complex barbecue taste, not, just El Cheapo, you know? There was this one place that I found out by, you don't have this grocery store, but there's this grocery store we have here in the South that runs a monopoly on everything called Publix. And it's basically like, it's the only grocery store in town. I mean, you can go to Winn-Dixie if you dare. I don't dare go to Winn-Dixie. Or you can go to, that's really like the only option we have in town. Really. They've got, and they basically like, oh, well, they build one every half a mile or something like that, so nobody else can compete with them. But anyhow, they used to carry this brand of chips that were made here in Florida called Bull's Chips. And on the way to St. Augustine, there was this little, is where they made them in this, or at least the way they grabbed the potatoes from, right? Anyhow. And I tried them one time many years ago. I wasn't even married yet. I used to shop at this one grocery store, this one particular one on the way home, and they had them there, and I found out about them, and they were the most incredible freaking potato chips ever, because they were like kettle, so they were real, and their flavor was datil pepper, and it was like this slow heat that just tasted. I mean, it just incredible, and they just went out of business. I don't think that they got bought up by somebody else and started turning out crap product. I just think that they went out of business. And they used to sell them both at the grocery store. They stopped selling them there. They stopped selling them in there was like this little fruit stand, fruit vegetable stand right across the street from where their warehouse was in Hastings, Florida. Florida potato capital, even says on there. And they stopped selling them there. I think they went under. So, yeah, it's hard running a business, you know. But those are some great chips. But the problem with chips is they end up becoming one serving for me. Like, oh, okay, it's a bag. Oh man, these are good. Like, eat the whole fucking bag in one sitting. I'm like, I've known to do it. You know, I'm just a crackhead when it comes to food. Alcohol, it'll last forever. It'll even go bad. Food, I'm all up in it. Yeah, but try out those jalapeno ranch. They're pretty darn good. They've actually come up with some decent flavors recently that they're like, man, these aren't half bad. Uh, Same. I have to pay attention when eating chips. That bag will disappear. What's up, Justin? Um, what are the ones in the little can? Pringles. Pringles makes a flavor that they were on discount. I don't know if they've been discontinued or not. Pringles, and they're spicy. Because the worst sin of food is that it's bland. Pringles spicy TNT. No, it's not. It's not backblast. What are these things called? Not the enchilada adoba. Those sucked. Scorchin. The Scorchin ones were good. I think it was the medium ones. Yeah, Scorchin medium barbecue were actually really freaking good. Oh, they call them crisps. Yeah, I haven't tried some of the. Oh, here's a Pringles Mingles. Yes, exactly. Uh, Pringles Scorchin medium barbecue is actually they're actually really good. Um, Ghost pepper pretzels. I know somebody who really like ghost pepper stuff. Um, I can handle the heat of just about anything. I don't remember the last thing that I tried, and I'm like, this is just too damn hot. I can pretty much handle all of it. Now, I'm not a fan of things that are spicy and are vinegary. So like things that are like Tabasco sauce, it's too white vinegar like for me. I can eat it. I just there's better flavors out there. Um, and just like somebody managed to make mesquite and they sucked, Bucky's that made mesquite and they sucked. It's hard for me to find them doing chipotle right. Chipotle peppers usually just don't taste. It tastes like there's something wrong with them. Like it's like they're like like an unfinished. I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe, and it's not the spiciness of it. It's almost like they're smoky and it tastes like fake smoky. Like I'm okay with smoky things as long as it's not like, well, this isn't really smoky, but we're gonna put this smoky liquid on it and then it'll taste smoky. No, it won't. No, it won't. It'll taste like you just added like fakey smoky stuff to it. No, but I come across things that are like these are there's some amazing flavored stuff sometimes. But that's the problem with amazing flavored stuff. It just becomes like, oh, where'd it go? I was just like, I just wanted more, and like, oh, the bag's gone. The bag's half empty, anyways. Um, what's that stuff called? That smart food white cheddar popcorn. That's dangerous. You got to eat that with a. You got to be careful how you eat some things because I used to bring that. I used to bring that habit for lunch. I have lunch in my car. I'm not gonna have lunch at work. I'm gonna have it in my car, away from everybody, so I don't get interrupted. And but you don't want to make a mess in the car. And then a lot of those things that you end up getting it on your fingers. So I'd get the bag that sandwich came in and put it on like a glove and then eat it like that. And you don't get it all over your fingers, right? Got to be smarter in what you're working with. It's like Brussels sprouts smell like garbage. It's funny because I don't have a problem with them. First of all, we can all admit they're cute, right? I happen to like Brussels sprouts. What is it that is there a vegetable I don't like? I don't know if there's a vegetable I dislike. Um, the thing I hate the smell of is freaking ketchup. Man, I cannot stand the smell of ketchup. The smell of them cooking. I don't like the smell of bacon when it's cooked too long. It's like butter burning. It doesn't smell good. We all like butter, but when you're cooking with butter and it burns too much, it's like I don't like that smell. Just like I don't like overcooked bacon. It smells weird. Like what'd you do to my bacon? It smells like that. Yeah, lots of people dislike Brussels sprouts, so you're not alone. You got lots of wingmen. I'm just not one of them. I I don't think I've ever. Yeah, I'm a Brussels sprout fan. And those little bastards are cute as hell. little cabbages. Mushrooms. I've never disliked mushrooms. They're not worth eating if they're not cooked anymore. Like to me, I'm like, yeah, I remember when I was a kid, they give you a salad that had little mushrooms on it, like little slivers of them. Like they don't they don't taste bad. They just don't have any taste. It's like, come on, man, saute these jokers so I can eat my weight in them. He loves sauerkraut and cabbage though. I like that too. My wife's the thing my wife can't stand is yellow mustard. She can't stand the smell of it. Um, I like mustard. I'm not a fan of yellow mustard really because it's so pungently strong and just drowns its flavor on everything else. But like the German mustard that has like the seeds in it, that stuff's good. I like that. I like that a lot. And I like sauerkraut, but anything that I put sauerkraut on, like a hot dog, I'm like a one ingredient hot dog person. Like either the hot dogs don't have anything, or they have sauerkraut, or they have like the good mustard. That's it. Like I wouldn't put like freaking sauerkraut and mustard and God forbid ketchup. I'd throw out that thing out the window and chili and like dude, like and onions, like just what are you gonna do? Like wear like a fucking wetsuit while you're eating it, You're gonna get that shit everywhere. That'd be a mess, man. That'd be a bigger mess than somebody who has a neur- neurological neurological problem and is trying to eat like what's really fucking messy? Wings. Trying to eat wings or ribs and you got a neurological problem. just just freaking just start basting yourself in that shit and you know just get it over with. German ground mustard's good. Caramelized onions. Oh, fuck yeah, yeah. We got a grill and recently, and we're trying to play like the see how many of these onions you can cook all at once because freaking caramelized onions are incredible. All right, making some of these little lines pop on this Joker. Yeah, you're a foodie when you're somewhere eating at a restaurant. You're at a restaurant eating food, and your people that you're with are talking about food that you haven't eaten yet for like your next meal. Like that's when you like to eat. Yeah, caramelized onions are freaking amazing. Absolutely amazing. One of the best things I had on my trip though to Europe was two things that were kind of unusual. And not unusual that it's like something weird to eat. They're like normal things to eat. They just are not things you normally encounter eating. And one of them was like this tempura like eggplant that had balsamic on it and honey. That was some awesome shit right there. And the other thing was, I don't know how they were done, but on one of the flights, yeah, it was actually airplane food. On one of the flights, they fed us, one of the sides was parsnips. And just imagine like a cross between a carrot and a sweet potato. And they were freaking awesome. Really, really good. Are buffalo burgers popular in Michigan, in Florida, like they are in Michigan? No, you got to go out of your way to get them. I've had one a couple times. They're they're pretty good, you know. Um, I guess it just depends how you prepare them because, like, I'm not a fan of like gamey meat, but when I had that elk on the pizza in freaking Canada, that was the bomb, man. That was freaking amazing. Maybe elk isn't gamey, or maybe they just prepared it and it wasn't. It took the gaminess out of it, but some people like that. I don't like the gamey taste. You know, that's just like some people don't like spicy food. I do like spicy food, but I don't like a gamey taste. And I don't like lamb. Um, you know, I'm not one of those people that has to eat meat. Um, Except I'm like, if I'm gonna have a salad, like it's gotta have some kind of meat on there. Otherwise, that's just a side, right? Side salad. If I'm eating a salad, somebody's gotta die. No, I actually like eating a salad because um, it takes you a while to eat it. You can't eat it too fast, right? So it makes it look like it's bigger than it is, especially if you use a small fork. Steak is king. Well, if it tastes anything like that I had on the pizza, then yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about because it was freaking amazing. I guess it'd be kind of like raving about fish. Somebody raving about fish and like, oh, you haven't had anything until you had swordfish. Freaking swordfish steaks are freaking amazing. So Rick, have you played that game that I got talked into getting? And I'm wondering if it's like Skyrim. If the activities that you have to do, if it's like Skyrim, that's Kingdom, whatever the hell it's called, Kingdom Come Deliverance or whatever. Like, what are you doing today? Oh, I'm just collecting herbs. You're just collecting herbs. It's a little too role play for me. Like, if you're gonna play a game, you need to be playing a game where the life of the character that you're playing is more exciting than your own life. If it's less exciting, what are you doing there? Like, You play a character where you got to play a maid and you got to clean toilets or something like that. It's like, I don't freaking, do that shit. Kingdom Come Deliverance. I don't need sauce. Just saw it came out, but the gameplay scared me away. I do not have the attention span to craft things. Yeah, I didn't get the second one. I just got the first one, and I can't pick a lock. I can't pick a single lock. I've even watched videos. Can't be done. Can't be. I'm pretty proficient with freaking games. I'm not like handicapped or anything like that. Now, just imagine if you paid something like Assassin's Creed and you couldn't break open a lock. Like, well, the game becomes really two-dimensional then. And I watched a video of it on it, and it's even the guy in the video says that on a console it's almost impossible with the analog sticks. That's made for like a mouse or something like that. Is it like Tears of the Kingdom? No, I don't know what Tears of the Kingdom is. It's it's there's a lot of things that I like about it. One of the things I like about it is that in order to get better at something, you need to do it. So if you want more endurance, you need to run all the time. So you can't run constantly; you'll be out of breath. So you end up running in spurts, and eventually you get better at it. You fight, you get better at it. You call your dog, you ask your dog to do things, you get better at dog handling, what have you. So I like that concept a lot. What I don't like is that, unlike, it requires a whole lot of finesse to fight with a weapon. And because of that, when you encounter someone, it's kind of hard to discern, okay, why did I get my butt kicked? Because I don't know how to fight, or because I'm not a high enough level and the guy took, it's like it's difficult it's difficult in the combat to realize what exactly you're doing that's wrong. To like, all right, well, I'm not ready for this, or and then the lock picking thing is just terrible. And you're so damn poor. You've got no damn money. You get to the point where like the only person you can like beat up is like I gotta beat up basically an unarmed person. They're unarmed, but they'll still fight back, and get a couple of hits on them first, like from behind. But somebody that's got like I encountered a peasant who had like a freaking floppy hat, no armor, and had a basically a spear. I've got like a sword and shield or axe or whatever, and he whooped my ass. Just some random person on the road. It's something to putz around in. If it's too good, it'd just keep me from doing this, so. Guess I should just be happy that it's not better. But Rick would like it because you can only play a human. You can't play somebody who's 1/16th part whale and, a quarter orc. Can only play humans. Late medieval period. It reminded me, it's funny because it's kind of in the same part of the world ish that this one game that came out a long time ago that a buddy of mine and I used to play, or he used to play, and we used to play it together, but it wasn't really a multiplayer game. And it was by Microprose called, 1/16th whale or some bullshit, like I want to have tentacles coming out of, I want like one arm that's like half cut off and is bionic, and I want the other one to be like tentacles. And I only have one leg, and instead of the other leg, I got like fucking gills or some shit. I was like, what the hell, man? You should be lucky that you're born a freaking human. Just play a human. You know, I'm playing that silly ass Baldur's Gate, right? And I'm like, I don't want this. I don't want to talk to this guy. He's freaking red. He's got horns and he's got a spiked tail. You're obviously satanic. Let's freaking kill you. Oh, wait a second. You're a demon. You get more power with fire. Screw you. We're gonna bury you in ice and move on. Not like, well, you gotta make friends with not somebody who looks like that. You're the bad guy, dude. You know? Sounds like the character is a simp. Using modern day terminology. A simpleton. Full plate and packing steel. Yeah, that's the original Baldur's Gate that I liked until I got my ass kicked by freaking magic arrows. I'm like, okay, enough of this. A simpleton. What's the terminology that's weird as shit? Riz, a simp with no riz. What? English, do you speak it? I've always liked the way this vehicle looks. And I actually don't know why it's called Operation Crusader. I don't think it's named Operation Crusader because there were so many damn Crusaders in the battle, Crusader tanks in the battle. I don't think that's what the name of it is. Why it's named that. Although I don't think the names of these operations actually have anything to do with what's really going on. Like if they made an Operation Buckwheat, you know, wouldn't necessarily be any buckwheat there. It's just a name for the operation. Got to call it something. got to check on something in a little bit. In a moment. I'll be right back. Okay. You have any T-34? Yes, I do. I do because, and the reason why I have T-34s, interestingly enough, is because there was a guy that ran an estate sale. One of his, I think the guy came over and his couple of his, I think it was his friend and one of his brothers of this guy who was deceased, left like all these tanks undone, and I literally picked up like 35 T-34s. I didn't have any. Well, I had two, and they were models that were kind of broken. So not only do I have a lot of T-34s, I have a lot of T-34s that are finished. So since you asked, let's go look at some T-34s. Oh, come on. There we go. All right. We have a lot of them. Because actually I have more Soviets than anybody else. And, whoa, holy limp dick. All right, there we go. This is the Soviets here. There's a couple of them here. These are actually white metal from Skytrex. Hinchcliffe / Skytrex. They're all they're 1/76th scale. So these are actually the last two that I did that were snow camouflage. And you see this one that looks like it's got like tire tracks on it. That's an actual pattern that they used. And it looks okay now, but at first it was like, that's really quite ugly. And then I did this other one that did snow. These are my two snow pattern ones. With you know, the slogans hand painted. So I've got those two. Of course, other Soviets here, but none of those are T-34s. Move up here. There's a whole slew of T-34s. T-34-45, another T-30-45, another T-30-45. Actually, this is the one I converted to being a flamethrower. That's why here at the front it looks like it's all burnt. I changed the barrel on the whole machine gun to having a flamethrower on it. And there's another T-30-45. There's another T-30-45, and another T-30-45, and another T-30-45. And then back here, I guess this is where the T-30-45s are. And these are all, I believe these are actually SHQ. But these are all white metal, so they're quite heavy. And they all have hand-painted markings on them, including this one that has this nice stripe across the top, so they don't get strafed by any Sturmovic's. Only strafed by their own guys. All right, and then moving on up, this entire row, this entire section, this is all T-34s. So yeah, I got quite a few. And I still probably have a dozen to do. So, oh, there's even some T-30, a pair of T-30-45s. Oh, there's a little BT-7 hiding in there. Pair of camouflage ones, pair of camouflaged early ones. Some other early ones in the back. And then we got the ones with the hexagonal turret that are a little bit later. This soft edge hexagonal type turret. This one like the Chelyabinsk style turret. CHTZ. When these guys are over here, these would be like what would be at Kursk. And this is like the mid-range, mid-time period in the war, 1942. Late 41, early 42, really late 41 through 42. So yeah, we got quite a few of them. But that's how I got that many. It was like they were almost like giving them away. And they were like $4 or $5 each. So, but the reason I got them is it was an estate sale. Like the guy had passed away. It was like, and I'm like, you know, I didn't know the guy. I'm not glad that he passed away just so I could get his stuff, but I'm like, if you're going to get rid of it, the least I can do is, you know, do something with it. So yeah, they're pretty much all been worked on. I still have like a dozen. The other dozen I have, I'm probably going to do. Hold on, this is all out of balance now. Let's see which way is why does it want to fall that way? That's awkward. Okay. The other ones I have I'm probably going to use for probably winterizing. I've got two that are the really, really late war ones. And you know, and I did the T-34s the same way that I do the Shermans, because people go, T-34, don't pay him any interest. I'm like, what do you mean don't pay him any interest? People aren't going to be interested in playing these tanks if you just throw them together, paint them green, and don't give them any personality. You know, so they all look different. Let me give you an example of one. Let me find it here. It's this guy right here. This has an air recognition symbol. This is actually the model kit that you can get that looks like. This is a fairly famous tank. I mean, I don't expect you to know who it is, but this is before black lining, so this doesn't have any black lining at all. So it could look even better. So at some point, I'm going to go through and redo these, but it's kind of a crude model. But this model is probably from the 1970s at some point. But an inscription on the side of the turret says, "For Soviet Moldova." Okay, so they wanted to raise monies or something like that and build, tanks for this province in the Soviet Union called Moldova. It's on the corner. It's on the border there with Romania. Well, what they don't tell you is, yes, this is an inscription on this tank, and the entire tank brigade, I forget exactly how many tanks were in the Soviet tank brigade, maybe 40, 50 tanks, something like that, more than 24, all had the same inscription on all their vehicles because it was the entire tank brigade that they raised. And so that would be stupid to take all of my tanks and have them the same inscription on them because I need them to be, a little different from each other. So the inscriptions and stuff that I have on some of these, they all wouldn't serve together. But it serves as giving them enough different personality that they're all different and have, something that makes one different from the other one. So here's another vehicle, Red 37. That's another actual vehicle. It was painted that way. These are all based on actual vehicles. Here's another one, 20 with an air recognition stripe on there on the edge of the recognition stripe on the edge of the turret, and then a white circle in the middle, in between both of the hatches. But these are really, really heavy. But they're also very crude. There's not a whole lot of, not a lot of detail to them. But, I did stuff like I took one of the front of the fenders off this one, just to make them look a little bit different, give them some personality. Which tank are you? I'm the green one. Well, okay, they're all green, What else we got? Here's 171. It has a little brigade marking on it. You go online and find all these things. This is a turret's a little bit different. It's called a soft edge turret, and it was actually built in the plant in Chelyabinsk, which is over there by the Ural Mountains. It's one of the plants that was dismantled and rebuilt over there. So it's 1943 start coming around. They started really cranking these things out. This has got the fuel boxes in the back instead of having the drums, which these things leak like crazy, supposedly, but, So, yeah, I think they have a lot of personality. I don't have two of them that are different. Because they have to have, you got to find a way to how to identify them one from each other. When their turn comes up, you want to make sure you're moving the correct one. But the tactical game that I play, it's very important differences like that are prevalent in the game that just you wouldn't see in like Flames of War. Now, Flames of War, I know you modify Flames of War, but Flames of War, it's a set number of rounds, how many times they fire per turn, and all this kind of stuff. And you don't really, unless there's a special rule for it, you don't really see the difference between the different tank types. Like one of the things that's kind of a problem for the T-34 is the fact that one of the things that's really good about it is it's fast, and it has pretty good armor. Well, the reason it has pretty good armor is it's sloped. It has sloped armor. Not only is it sloped on the front, it's sloped on the side, it's sloped on the back, and a sloped armor basically means that you have, when the shell hits, you generally have a larger section of metal that it has to go through because of, the Pythagorean theorem kind of thing, the diagonal, it's going to be thicker there. in the diagonal distance. I don't know if I explained that properly, but anyways, when you throw it at an angle, you got to go through more of it because of the angle. But one of the things that isn't prevalent in most games because they're not tactical enough is that there's a problem with having sloped armor for the people that are in the vehicle. And the problem with the people that have in the vehicle with sloped armor is in the fighting compartment, you have all these corners now. Okay, so if you look at the top of this vehicle and draw a line straight down, that's all the same width. The width of the vehicle really is this right here. The distance between this width all the way that tapers to this corner is a very small area that you can put less ammo in, that encroaches on you, that, it just becomes really restrictive to work with. So that's something that isn't taken into account in a lot of rule systems because, you're just playing with tanks and on paper, like 76 millimeter gun, it's pretty good. It's fast, that's good. It's got good armor, good. T-34 is great. Well, it's good at a lot of things, but one of the things it isn't good at is anything with a sloped armor is you have less area to fight in. Now, it doesn't affect the Panther as much because the Panther is extremely large for a medium tank. Extremely, extremely large. Whereas this is about the same size of a Panzer III or a Panzer IV, but it's sloped. So the Panzer III, its hull goes all the way to the end, and you can use all of it just as much. This one, it starts encroaching on being able to put ammo in there. So what ended up happening is that the ammo for the T-34 had to be stored somewhere else instead of on the side. I mean, I'm sure they had some on the side, but not as much as you could handle somewhere else. So what did they do is they would put it in the floor. And in order to put it in the floor is they'd have this floor mat that would sit over the floor. So if you can imagine, like, you've got these boxes that have shells in them, okay? And they might only have 2 shells in them. I don't know how many shells they had in each one. But you're not going to have a box for 1 shell. At least you would have 2. I wouldn't think. But they're in this box. And the box is underneath this rubber mat. I think the mat is rubber. And you would have like 4 in the ready rack that were in the turret, and after that, you had to start digging into the floor mat in the middle of combat. All right. The other thing that T-34 didn't have is it didn't have a turret basket, and what that means is when you got guys that are in the turret in a normal tank, in most tanks with a turret basket, you've got a gunner, you would have the crew if it was a 2. In this case, it's a 2-man crew, but a 3-man crew tank like a Panzer. Let's get this Panzer IV out here. The unlucky Panzer IV that's been damaged. Okay. This has a 3-man turret. You got a commander, you got a gunner, and you got a loader. All the loader does is load and spot occasionally. The gunner, all he does is run the gun and spot occasionally. And all the commander does is make sure everybody knows what they're doing, prods people if they need to do their job a little faster, and mostly spot, identify targets, that kind of stuff. Okay, so you got a commander that basically can do whatever, is a free agent, so to speak. Okay, the commander is a free agent looking out for the rest of the crew. In a T-34, the commander is the gunner, and there's a loader. So you got a 2-man turret. The commander's got to be the guy that's going to fire the gun and try to make sure everything else is working right. And in some tanks, like the Valentine, it's a 2-man turret, and the commander is the loader. So that changes a little bit. But now, getting back to turret basket. So you've got these 3 guys that are in this turret. When the turret turns this way, they have seats, all 3 of them, that are attached to the turret that turn with the turret. So in other words, the tank might be moving this way, but when the turret's turned this way, they have these seats that are aligned whichever way the turret is pointing. Okay? So that means they can do their job as efficiently as they can regardless of which way the turret is pointing. Same thing for the commander. They can keep abreast of everything that's going on. If you don't have a turret basket, like this vehicle is, There's nowhere for you to sit. You literally have to stand up, and when the turret goes, you stand up with it. Um, or the seating. I don't know if it's the case in this tank, but sometimes the seating is there, but it's fixed, and it's fixed only in this position. So if you're like this, you're fine. If you're shooting at 90 degrees, now all of a sudden you gotta get up out of your seat and be facing with the turret. Like the turret's gonna move independent of where you're sitting. And what that happens is you have to walk or step over anything that is on the ground. So if you can imagine, you have this T-34 that has 4 rounds in the ready rack. After you've expended your 4 rounds, you need the ammo that's in the floor. And the only way you can get the ammo on the floor is you got to lift up this mat. You have to lift up this mat and have these extra boxes of shit. So you have this, the floor of this T-34 is just a fucking mess after not much time. And now the crew are going to have to step over this and not trip or get caught up on it while you're trying to turn the turret. And that isn't, in a game like Flames of War, that's not represented in there. And that's kind of an important thing, because one of the things that made the German tanks so awesome at the beginning, at the middle of the war, is you had experienced guys that knew how to operate their equipment, and you had equipment that you had tank user friendliness. Like it was you weren't fighting the damn thing. You weren't fighting your own ammo in the floor. It wasn't in your way. And the same thing with the Sherman. You could gripe about the Sherman being a POS all the time. The Sherman was great. I'd say probably the only drawback the Sherman had is it had a really high silhouette. But it was very, and because it had a very high silhouette, it actually had pretty good conditions fighting inside for the crew. Much better than this, or much better than, oh, well, we'll put a 3-man turret on it. Is it really that much bigger? The Sherman is like, living a life in luxury, So, whereas the Russians really didn't have, not until the T-34-85 did they get a 3-man turret in their medium tanks. So that is something to consider. What paint is on the table? I don't know what you mean by that. But anyhow, that's you need a lot of T-34s. It's like I was reading an article one time. It's like they made like 50,000 T-34s. Like, man, no wonder they're unstoppable. Yeah. Well, how many T-34s did they have at the end of the war? Under 10,000. So the Germans shot up 30,000 fucking T-34s. They still managed to win, but the Soviets still managed to win, but they had a lot of their tanks knocked out. A lot. So, they only made 5,000 Panthers. Well, the other thing is they make this many tanks. They don't all show up at the front at the same time, right? Because the Germans actually manufactured more armored vehicles in 1944, I think, than all other years combined. So in other words, 1944, they were getting the living shit bombed out of them by the Air Forces. And they still managed to produce more tanks in that year than all of the years combined. And they've produced a fair number of them in 1945, but the problem is okay, now in 1945 you got a lot of the territory that's not controlled by Germany, in Germany, right? So you can't produce those. And but yeah, so there's a book that I don't remember what it's called. I should get it one time. It's called like World War II through charts or something. And it has some great, easy to understand concepts about production and stuff like that. That you don't. It's harder to wrap your head around it when you're just looking at it in text. Like the British produced. They basically used the Sherman for a lot, and they diverted a lot of their building of weapons to aircraft. The British built a shitload of aircraft, and they're like, well, we'll use Shermans. The Shermans are pretty decent tanks. They were reliable. They were probably more reliable than any other tank. I could probably say that for certain that the Sherman was probably the most reliable tank of the Second World War, for multiple reasons, and mainly due to a lot of the other tanks were really unreliable. These had all kinds of mechanical problems, Yeah, man, we got pretty far on this thing, man. We almost have this thing done. We gotta not forget to do the little turret. Don't forget the little guy. But I like a gaming system that shows all those little different things, because when the Germans were really kicking butt, they had inferior equipment on paper, but and there was some German tanks that weren't very ergonomically friendly, or the Panzer IIs they were only a 3-man tank, and the commander was overtaxed doing other stuff, but they were just basically recon duties. They were also fighting people that when the Germans had a 2-man turret, like, man, that's not very good. Well, the French had a 1-man turret, so you can run circles around somebody when you have twice as many people in your turret. Now at least the commander's not loading the damn gun, right? You got somebody to load that. So, and radios. Every German vehicle basically had radios. And they were fighting people, they had less experience than them. Not the whole war, but the early part of the war. Need a little bit of black here. All right, so it looks like, from what I can tell, the horizontal feeds any bonus that I get from using a mobile connection. So I want a lot of people to show up on this feed. I need to use a mobile connection and go vertical. Because I haven't had a single person offer to give me $1 million to eat a cockroach. Yeah, I don't need money that bad. I need no damn roach. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and stop for the night. But anyways, yeah, I got a lot of T-34s, so. And they were fun to make. I enjoy making vehicles that everybody considers boring and make them look not boring. Everything deserves its time in the sun, so. All right, folks. Well, we'll see you guys on the next one. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye. See you in the morning.